Students, Assalamu alaikum. Our today's topic for discussion is simple, compound, and complex sentences. Dear students, आज का जो लेसन है हम आज के लेसन में सिर्फ सिंपल सेंटेंस ही डिस्कस करेंगे। लेकिन इससे पहले कि हम सिंपल सेंटेंस डिस्कस करें, हमें पता होनी चाहिए कि what is a sentence, what is object, what is predicate. So what is a sentence? A group of words usually containing a verb which expresses a thought. A group of words usually containing a verb which expresses a thought in the form of a statement, question, instruction, or exclamation and starts with a capital letter when written is called a sentence, right? A group of words usually containing a verb which expresses a thought in the form of a statement, question, instruction, or exclamation and starts with a capital letter when written is called a sentence. अब और एक डेफिनेशन नीचे है, अंडरस्टैंड हो जाएगा ठीक तरह से हमें. A group of words having a complete sense is called a sentence. A sentence has a subject, object and predicate, right? So अब हमें पता होनी चाहिए कि सब्जेक्ट क्या है. ज़रा आप देखिए, a person or a thing that is being discussed. सेंटेंस में पर्सन और थिंग जिस हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं दैट इज अ सब्जेक्ट, राइट. ए पर्सन और थिंग दैट इज बीइंग डिस्कस्ड. और ऑब्जेक्ट क्या है, व्हाट इज सब्जेक्ट डज. नाउ प्रेडिकेट पार्ट ऑफ सेंटेंस कंटेनिंग ए वर्ब एंड व्हाट इज सेड अबाउट सब्जेक्ट. वर्ब प्लस एंड व्हाट इज सेड अबाउट सब्जेक्ट दैट इज प्रेडिकेट. आपके सामने यहाँ पे मैं एग्जांपल मैंने लिखी है, ज़रा आप इसको आप देखिए. He plays cricket. He यहाँ पे जो है it is subject, plays it is verb and cricket it is object. Plays cricket, plays that's verb plus object is predicate, right? So इस एग्जाम्पल को आप ठीक तरह से अंडरस्टैंड कीजिए तो फिर आपको अंडरस्टैंड हो जाएगा कि सेंटेंस में सब्जेक्ट क्या होता है, वर्ब क्या होता है, ऑब्जेक्ट क्या होता है और प्रेडिकेट क्या होता है. सो यहाँ पे ही सब्जेक्ट है, प्लीज वर्ब, क्रिकेट ऑब्जेक्ट एंड प्लेज क्रिकेट इट इज़ प्रेडिकेट, राइट. अब इससे पहले कि हम सिंपल सेंटेंस डिस्कस करें, हमें ये पता होनी चाहिए कि व्हाट इज़ ए फाइनाइट वर्ब. अ फाइनाइट वर्ब इज़ ए फॉर्म ऑफ ए वर्ब दैट हैज़ ए सब्जेक्ट एंड कैन फंक्शन एज द रूट ऑफ एन इंडिपेंडेंट क्लास. ये अंडरस्टैंड यहाँ पे ठीक हो जाएगा. ज़रा देखिए आप, इन इंग्लिश ग्रामर ए फाइनाइट वर्ब इज़ ए फॉर्म ऑफ ए वर्ब, राइट. In English grammar, a finite verb is a form of a verb that shows agreement with a subject. Finite verb जो है उसका agreement किसके साथ होता है, subject के साथ होता है and is marked for a tense, right. जो नॉन फाइनाइट होता है उसका इस सब्जेक्ट के साथ एग्रीमेंट नहीं होता है. सो नॉन फाइनाइट verbs are not marked for tense and do not show agreement with subject, right. Non-finite verbs are not marked for tense. They are not marked for the tense and do not show agreement with subject. If there is just one verb in a sentence, if there is just one verb in a subject, that verb is finite. Finite verbs are sometimes called main verbs or tensed verbs, right. Finite verbs are sometimes called main verbs or tensed verbs. So यहाँ पे नोट मैंने लिखा है, इसको आप अंडरस्टैंड कीजिए. A finite clause is a word group that contains a finite verb form as its central element. A finite clause is a word group that contains a finite verb form as its central element, right. The main difference between finite verb and non-finite verb is that the former can act as a root of an independent clause, right. That is the former, that means finite verb can act as the root of an independent clause or a full sentence while later cannot, right. So for example, take the following sentence. The man runs to the store to get a gallon of milk. The man runs to the store to get a gallon of milk. Runs here is a finite verb because it agrees with the subject. Runs is a finite verb here because it agrees with the subject man. and because it makes the tense, that is present tense, right? इस सेंटेंस में को मैं दोबारा पढ़ता हूँ. The man runs to the store to get a gallon of milk. Runs here is a finite verb because it agrees with the subject, that's man, and because it marks the tense, that is present tense. Get is non-finite verb because it does not agree with the subject or mark the tense, right? So यहाँ पे understand ठीक तरह से हो गया. So rather it is an infinitive and depends on the main verb. Rather it is an infinitive and depends on the main verb. Runs. By simplifying this sentence, we can see that runs has the ability to act as the root of an independent clause, right? So now what is simple sentence? हमें understand हो गया what is subject, what is object, what is predicate, what is finite verb and what is non-finite verb, right? So अब हमें ये पता होनी चाहिए कि ये इससे पहले कि हमने सेंटेंस ये स्टार्ट करना है, अब हमें ये अंडरस्टैंड हो गया ठीक तरह से कि सेंटेंस क्या है, सब्जेक्ट क्या है, प्रेडिकेट क्या है, ऑब्जेक्ट क्या है, राइट? सो अब ठीक तरह से हम अंडरस्टैंड कर सकते हैं व्हाट इज सिंपल सेंटेंस. अ सिंपल सेंटेंस इज वन दैट कंटेन्स वन फाइनाइट वर्ब, राइट? ईदर एक्सप्रेस्ड और understood. A simple sentence is one that contains one finite verb, either expressed or understood. It simply means that it has one finite verb and is consequently a single independent clause. Right? Note, इस यहाँ पे मैंने एक नोट लिखा, इसको आप अंडरस्टैंड कीजिए. A simple sentence has one complete thought. A simple sentence has one complete thought. So it's now what is a simple sentence? A simple sentence is one that contains one finite verb, either expressed or understood. It simply means that it has one finite verb and is consequently a single independent clause. Note, इस नोट को आप अंडरस्टैंड कीजिए. A simple sentence has one complete thought. Examples: boys are running, boys and girls play. The handsome boy gave his mother a red rose. He gave his brother a book. The boys ran to the store. ये जो 5 सेंटेंस है, इन यहाँ पे सिर्फ एक ही complete thought है. So these all are simple sentences. Examples on one subject and one verb, right? Simple sentence में एग्जाम्पल्स में आपको यहाँ पे जो मैंने लिखे हैं कि दैट हैज़ वन सब्जेक्ट एंड वन वर्ब. फॉर एग्जांपल द कार स्ट्रेच्ड, कार यहाँ पे सब्जेक्ट है और स्ट्रेच्ड वर्ब है. सलीम स्टूड ऑन हिज टिप टोज, सलीम यहाँ पे सब्जेक्ट है, स्टूड सो इट इज़ वर्ब. द कार टर्नड एट द कॉर्नर, राइट? कार यहाँ पे सब्जेक्ट है, टर्नड सो दिस इज़ वन ऑफ, सो वन सब्जेक्ट एंड वन वर्ब. अब और एक सेंटेंस, शी ओपनड द डोर, ओपनड द डोर, ओपनड यहाँ पे ये वर्ब है एंड शी यहाँ पे सब्जेक्ट है. वसी मेड ए पिक्चर, आई एम सॉरी आई डोंट सी. तमाम ये जो सेंटेंसेस 1 to 7 हैं, इनमें दे कंटेन वन सब्जेक्ट एंड वन वर्ब. नाउ एग्जांपल्स विथ implied subject, right? Examples with implied subject. Some simple sentences have a single subject and verb but the subject isn't stated. यहाँ पे subject state नहीं किया जाता है. So यानी कुछ सेंटेंस ऐसे हैं जिनका एक सब्जेक्ट होता है, सिंगल सब्जेक्ट होता है एंड वर्ब बट द सब्जेक्ट इज़ नॉट स्टेटेड. यहाँ पे सब्जेक्ट को that's not being stated in the sentence. Instead, the reader knows who the subject is from the context. You will notice that many of these short examples are imperative sentences with an implied subject of you, right? Implied subject of you. For example, run. यहाँ पे किसकी तरफ है, किसकी तरफ इशारा है? you run. So you जो है this is implied subject of, and implied subject यहाँ पे as इस्तेमाल होता है. So run. Open the jar carefully. So that means you open the jar carefully. Read the directions, so it means you read the directions. Don't cry, you don't cry. So यहाँ पे जो है इन तमाम सेंटेंसेस में क्या है, यहाँ पे जो सब्जेक्ट है यहाँ पे स्टेट नहीं किया जाता, द सब्जेक्ट इजंट स्टेटेड इन द सेंटेंसेस, इंस्टेड द रीडर नोज हु द सब्जेक्ट इज फ्रॉम द कॉन्टेक्स्ट, राइट। सो इन सेंटेंस में आपको अंडरस्टैंड हो जाएगा। सो नाउ एग्जांपल्स ऑफ सिंपल सेंटेंसेस एज इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज, examples of simple sentences as independent clause. Note, remember by itself, an independent clause is a simple sentence and vice versa. It means independent clause is a simple sentence and simple sentence is an independent clause. So matlab pandas eat, dogs bark, he ran, I was late to work, planets revolve around the sun. Now examples of simple sentences containing compound subject and one verb. अब जो sentences यहाँ पे मैंने लिखे हैं, यहाँ पे these are the examples of simple sentence containing compound subject and one verb. For example, in this case subjects are joined by conjunction like and are all performing the action described in the verb. For example, Sarah and I drove the store. Sarah and I drove the store. Farhan and I opened the gifts, right? The cat and dog ate. My parents and I went to a hostel. These are called compound subject. यहाँ पे compound Sarah and I, that so this is a compound subject. Farhan and I, this is a compound subject. And यहाँ पे one verb है, opened the gifts. Drove, one verb. The cat and dog, so compounds ये subject है. Ate यहाँ पे one verb है. My parents and I, so this is compound subject. And went to a hostel, so went यहाँ पे one verb है. तो paper and pencil, so compounds ये subject है. Sat, so this is one verb, right? Examples of simple sentence containing one subject and compound verb. Examples of simple sentence containing one subject, understand कीजिए, they contain one subject and compound verb. In this case there are compound verbs. The subject is doing all the actions and the actions go together, right? In this case there are compound verbs. The subject is doing all the actions and the actions go together. For example, Nasir walked and looked, so these are compound verbs. Nasir walked and looked around, so walked and looked, this is compound verb. My mother hammered and howled, so this is compound verb, right? He was eating and talking, so this is compound verb. So these are the sentences which contain one subject and compound verb. He was eating and talking. I rinsed and dried the dishes. Fahim stood up and spoke to the crowd, right? So stood up and spoke, this is compound verb and one subject. Fahim is one, which is subject. Now this was all about the simple sentence. Thank you very much. आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया.